With the release of Boruto 2 Blue Vortex Chapter 11, a lot of people are actually mad about Boruto having to save a lot of characters like we have seen in the series so far. This had led to the question being asked, is Boruto too strong for the series at the current moment? And the simple answer to this question is no. But in this video, we'll be discussing every reason why people can be led to this conclusion and why this doesn't make sense, and how Boruto's progression and time skip transformation is actually quite perfect and reasonable. And we have to go all the way back to Boruto chapter 80 and understand the predicament that Boruto found himself in. And this is the main reason why, compared to a lot of his peers, he is a lot stronger. We have a Boruto who at the end of the series, at the end of part 1, Boruto was in the worst position ever. He had lost everything. Everybody was chasing him due to a crime that he did not do. Naruto was sealed, Hinata was sealed, and his little sister Himawari may have believed that he was the cause for all of this. Boruto was truly in one of the worst positions, and the only good thing that really came out of this was Sasuke leaving with Boruto due to Sarada awakening her Mangekyo Sharingan. That was the only thing that truly saved Boruto from actually turning into Momoshiki. As if you see the fight between Boruto and Team 10, you would see that slowly Momoshiki, due to the doubt that Boruto was currently starting to feel, he was starting to take control of Boruto's body. And Boruto had to beg him not to hurt his friends. But at the perfect moment, we had a Sasuke who came to save Boruto, allowing Boruto to strengthen his resolve and thus be able to leave the village knowing that he would come back to protect it as the Shadow Hokage. As Boruto, before leaving, he told everybody to bring it on, as he would become strong enough to eventually face all of these different threats, which were Kawaki, Code, and everybody who was against him. As this is exactly what we are seeing Boruto do in the time skip so far. He had a fight against Kawaki in chapter 78 where Kawaki ended up scarring his eye, and now in the time skip he paid that back by one-shotting Kawaki. He had a fight versus Mitsuki where he had to run away, and then in the time skip we had him defeat Mitsuki in chapter 7. He had a fight versus Code where Code almost stepped on his head, and now the one who ended up stepping on Code's face in chapter 1 of Boruto 2 Blue Vortex was Boruto. Boruto has started to get his revenge on all these different characters. However, this is not the only reason why Boruto has become this strong. We know that he had to have a strong resolve due to everything that happened, but we can't forget the work of characters like Sasuke and Kashin Koji, who were instrumental characters in Boruto actually being so strong. As we can see that Boruto, although he does has the power, he still needed to work on his fundamentals and skills. We can see a clear example of this in the fight versus Code, where Sasuke eventually got turned into a tree. We had a Sasuke who is weaker than Boruto. However, Sasuke has better experience and skills, which is why during that fight, Sasuke is the one with his sword intact, while Boruto is the one who has his sword broken, which is extremely humiliating in Japanese culture. This is all being highlighted to show us what exactly Boruto lacked and was starting to develop in the time skip, as we have never seen Boruto after that moment show such a lack of expertise in his sword skills, as he has never had his sword broken ever again. And we know that Sasuke later on got turned into a tree, which had Boruto strengthen his resolve even more, meeting up with Kashin Koji and now truly acting as the Shadow Hokage, who is working towards protecting the village in the background. As the people who had the information and knew exactly what that was going to happen was Kashin Koji and Boruto. This is why Boruto ended up coming back to the village and telling Code to discard of the claw grimes and the tentacles that he has been using. Although Code didn't do it in time, Boruto is the one who had all that information at hand. in the time skip, we also see that Boruto didn't go down the path of relying on Moshiki's powers, not only because he is a threat, but also because he would find himself in a position like Kawaki, but he focused on his own powers. Yes, there are drawbacks, and we can see that he does struggle with his karma. However, in every other aspect, we can see that Boruto's time skip was truly fruitful due to the position that he found himself in, and him having the people around him that could actually teach him the various things that he lacked, like Sasuke and Kashin Koji, and most importantly, he had the resolve necessary after seeing that Sasuke got turned into a tree, and now he has that goal of bringing Sasuke back, and this is what we can see him try to achieve throughout the time skip. This is what has caused Boruto to become so strong. So what about the other characters that we are seeing? Is Boruto way too strong, and does this not make sense? We can already see with all the information given that this actually makes a lot of sense. So where did the problem truly lie? And I think the problem truly lies is how strong or apparently weak most people seem to perceive the rest of the cast to be in comparison to Boruto. So we have to start off with talking about Sarada. Sarada was somebody who prior to the time skip was not really involved in most of the major fights. She wasn't involved in the fight versus Ishiki, not the fight versus Code, and she only was involved in fights like the one versus Boro, which she was the leader to. However, ever since that moment, Sarada's appearance in major fights has dwindled, and this is something that she has acknowledged herself alongside Mitsuki, and it had become her desire for her to become strong enough where she would actually be involved and be a useful fighter versus these various Otsutsuki level threats. And this is exactly what we're seeing happening at the current moment. We have a Sarada who is the only one to have been able to land a hit on Hidari and dodge his Chidori so effectively. So we can see to a certain extent that Sarada was able to achieve that goal that she had in the past. But would it make sense for her to directly be able to scale to somebody like Hidari, one of the main villains in the series, somebody who literally was able to go blow for blow with Boruto's Rasengan and equal it out, which signified a level of relativity? If Sarada reached that level so quick and with just a time skip, I personally think that it would be lazy writing, because we wouldn't really get to see that progression of Sarada slowly getting stronger and her being able to enact her will versus these strong characters. We have a Boruto, we saw that progression, him starting to take L's during that Code fight, and then we had him tap into Momoshiki's powers, but ultimately Kawaki ended up killing him then continuing and fighting Kawaki and him getting scarred. It seemed like whenever he fought Kawaki, an L was always approaching. However, then we got that time skip. Then we saw what exactly happened in the time skip with Sasuke being turned into a tree. That progression made sense, and now we can't be mad at the strength that Boruto has, but just be sad that the other characters are not that strong. However, with Sarada, we truly haven't gotten that, and I think that this is what we are starting to get at this moment. We're getting moments of potential while maintaining the reasonable power scaling for Sarada. Sarada has showed potential versus Hidari, but has not showed something too drastic where we just don't understand where this power is coming from. This to me is perfect writing, as clearly there is going to be a lot of build-up for Hidari versus Sarada. This is still the beginning. This is not the end of the fight between Boruto and the Shinshu. It clearly doesn't look this way. As I've been saying chapter after chapter, this one seems like a longer arc, where we're going to see Sarada reach a scale where she is actually able to be relative and actually fight these characters like Hidari and potentially Jiraiya. However, this will be later on during the arc. This is the rising action for us to truly understand that, okay, Sarada, you may have lost, but you have shown potential for us to believe that in the future and with training and with a stronger resolve, you will be able to fight characters like Hidari. This is what we are currently seeing. And with Mitsuki, we have seen him go against Boruto, show a better performance than Kawaki has done. So I don't see a lot of that hate being towards Mitsuki, saying that Mitsuki is weak. I don't really see that with Mitsuki. It is more with Sarada, as most people can see that Mitsuki, if you check out all the feats, he currently has better feats than Kawaki in the manga so far, in my own personal opinion. So Mitsuki is fine, and we know that with the inclusion of Ida, and due to his relationship with Ida, at least for a short while, he will be the one to fight Bug, leading up to Damon eventually taking care of Bug, in my personal opinion. However, the point of major contention is not really with Sarada, Mitsuki, or those other characters, but it truly comes from Kawaki fans, and the fall from grace that we have seen from Kawaki, as Kawaki went from this absolute menace that we saw in Boruto Part 1, and a lot of people were saying that, oh, Kawaki's carrying the show and Boruto's being left behind, like a lot of people are saying now, you can't please everybody, but we're clearly seeing that all of this is truly coming from a writer's intention. This is clearly showcasing the lack and the missed qualities that Kawaki has as a character, because we have a clear point that the authors want us to focus on, and it is the line that Boruto dropped to Kawaki. We know that Boruto and Kawaki were relative at the end of Boruto Part 1. We had a Kawaki who some would argue were stronger than Boruto, which is why when Boruto ends up one-shotting Kawaki, Boruto questions his training, and not the fact that Kawaki in and of itself doesn't have the potential to be strong, meaning that the problem with Kawaki truly lies in the way that he's trained and his mindsets. Because we clearly see with everything that we have seen so far, Kawaki is somebody who shows a lot of potential. He was able to fight and utilize chakra without even having an understanding of what chakra truly is. However, there will always come a point when you are fighting stronger characters when those lack of fundamentals will slowly start to catch up to you. The lack of chakra control, always relying on the karma, we clearly see that with the way that Kawaki has a harder time using Sukuna Hikonen, as Ishiki was able to use Sukuna Hikonen for decades. He was in Ishiki's brain for years. However, when Kawaki ends up using Sukuna Hikonen, although this was stated when he had only around 4 to 5 triangles, his chakra control didn't allow him to use it for a long period of time. And with everything that we are seeing with Kawaki not focusing on a shinobi way of training, this fact may have been further solidified in the time skip, as Kawaki lacks the fundamentals when it comes to chakra control, and he really relies on the karma. And I think the biggest flaw with Kawaki, and the reason why he is so weak so far, is because he doesn't have a master. Kawaki is somebody who pushes everybody away and tries to do everything by himself. We have seen this countless of times when he went to go and fight Code himself. Although knowing that he didn't have the karma and that Code would easily beat him, he didn't rely on anybody else. We see this same fact being shown to us with the way he treated the Naruto and Hinata situation. He didn't go and talk to Boruto real quick, he didn't go and talk to anybody, but he put everything on himself, and thus he went to go and seal Naruto and Hinata in the Daikokoden. All of these things just showcases how Kawaki doesn't rely on anybody else but himself, and it means that in this time skip he was training by himself, and further points out that he didn't get somebody to tell him, okay Kawaki, you're missing this aspect, you have to work on this, you have to work on these fundamentals. It is quite likely that Kawaki doesn't have a master. We know that Naruto was the one taking care of those duties as his master. However, Kawaki has sealed Naruto, and thus this isn't the case any longer. So Kawaki really didn't have anybody to point him in the right direction like he had in the past with Jigen, although the methods were crazy. But since he's deciding to rely on himself, this is what has happened. And this is a lesson that even Naruto had to go through with Itachi, who told him that you can't always rely on yourself and you have to let other people also help you. This is something that Naruto had to understand after obtaining the Nine Tails powers. He wanted to do everything by himself, but Itachi had to be the beacon to guide Naruto and tell him that no, you can't do everything by yourself. Kawaki doesn't have that, and if Kawaki even does, he would reject that due to his hurt nature and him not wanting to rely on other people. And this is one of the biggest flaws in Kawaki's character, and is the reason why he always relies on cheap methods of gaining power, as he doesn't like to be around people and get that sense of camaraderie, as we clearly see with all the people that he rejects around him. Mitsuki, Team 10, all these various people, when they try to get too close, Kawaki pushes them away. So this really addresses one of the main reasons why Boruto is so strong, and I think a lot of people would go to understand from just having the full context being painted. This is the beginning of the arc. I don't feel like we are at the end, so we're going to see how these characters end up growing throughout the arc. And at the end of this arc, and regardless of what happens, we would see this gap being closed as these characters slowly start to grow in their mindset and their resolve and goals. But there are a lot of questions that a lot of people had, so I made a community post to get some of you guys' opinion and concerns regarding the chapter. And this is the first comment that we'll be discussing, and it is by My Star Killer. This is his comment, and I'm paraphrasing here, but he basically asks if Boruto will be able to defeat Hidari, or should he actually even try to defeat Hidari, because if Hidari dies, does Sasuke die too? This is the main point of his first question. Does he need to subdue them without killing them to figure out how to release Sasuke, Moegi, and Bug? Will they kill Jura and realize that Bug died too? This is a very intriguing question, and I really like this because I wouldn't say that I have the perfect answer and it is confirmed or not. However, I would stem to believe that they would have to defeat Hidari. I don't believe that it has something to do with subduing them, but there are 2 points of information that we have been given that could allow us to come to a conclusion, or maybe just an accurate theory. And the first point is that when Boruto saw Hidari, the first thing that he attempted to do was to fight Hidari, and that was the main reason why Kashin Koji was so mad at Boruto, because he took too many risks when fighting Hidari, because there were other Shinshu around too that were aiding in that fight. So I do believe that if Boruto was trying to fight Hidari head on, maybe killing Hidari would free Sasuke. That seems kind of plausible in my point of view at the current moment. And the other piece of information is that it seems like Boruto was looking for the husk of the Ten Tails. So maybe the husk of the Ten Tails is still somewhere out there, and the Shinshu have done their best to hide and prevent it to be found. Those could be some ways that we end up having Sasuke, Moegi, and Bug end up being freed. But I don't know what's going to happen to Jura. The next question is by T2 Next. From a narrative position, Boruto and Sarada are supposed to have this duo X dynamic of Hokage and Shadow Hokage, but it is completely one-sided, in Boruto having to save Sarada all the time, and it's killing the story for me at least. Hope we get that in chapter 12 unless Hidari just dips, which would be disappointing. In my personal opinion, I think that we are looking into this a little too deep. As if you check Naruto and Sasuke's dynamic, which was one of the Hokage and the Shadow Hokage, multiple times throughout the series, we have a Sasuke who is saving Naruto. I'll have images being posted here, but in the fight versus Ishiki, when they're in the village, also when they were not in the village in the fight versus Jigen, we have multiple moments where it seems like Sasuke is saving Naruto, a bit like a lot of people are complaining with Boruto and Sarada. But we also have moments like in the fight versus Momoshiki and other moments throughout the series. I probably can't name them all off the top of my head. We have multiple moments where this is interchangeable. Naruto is helping Sasuke and Sasuke is helping Naruto. And this is the exact same with Boruto and Sarada. We have had moments in the series where Sarada, just like in chapter 78, is the one who is coming there to save Boruto, although it ended up happening where Boruto had to save her in the end because she just wasn't strong enough. But we have a clear intention from both that they want to save each other. Sarada literally saved Boruto, and I don't know why a lot of people never discuss this, because Boruto was literally going to turn into Momoshiki and let Momoshiki do his thing after everything had happened, but Sarada sent Sasuke his way to end up protecting him and leading to the strength that he ended up having at the end of the series. So personally, I don't agree with this, but I know it comes from a position of Sarada not being as strong as a lot of people expected. However, I think that this is the best writing that we could get, as we are slowly going to start to see the writing being built up for Sarada eventually fighting Hidari. This is the clear point. A lot of people are not seeing the end goal. It is quite clear there's going to be a major fight between Hidari and Sarada, and the Mangekyo Sharingan will appear at that moment. So I would just say, let them cook up. The writing is being geared up for Hidari and Sarada, as you have to pay attention to the questions that Hidari was asking Sarada, but I'll be discussing that in a different video. The next question is by Mika. And this is what he or she has to say. I'm waiting for what Kawaki will do next because he can't protect Himawari. He can do something to become powerful. This is going to be very interesting, and I think we know what path this is going to lead to. It's going to lead to Kawaki going down this continuous path of relying on power. I don't know if it's going to come from simply Amado potentially giving Kawaki some of Shibai's DNA or giving Kawaki more technological advancements, but one thing I do know is that it will lead to Kawaki having to resurrect Amado's dead daughter. And that is going to be quite interesting to see what ends up happening. But definitely, Kawaki will get that power up. We all know it's coming. Just let the story cook up. And the last comment I want to discuss is by Mysterious. And he says, the way Boruto just saved Himawari and Sarada both was a masterclass. And this will go down as one of the iconic moments that we all remember and are waiting for to be animated. They cannot mess up because this was one of their moments and that brought a smile to my face, because these are the sorts of iconic moments that make you remember the MC and make the MC just appear so much cooler to you. And I really like that we have that. I really didn't feel like we had that that MC moment for Boruto too much during the Code arc, and near the end we started getting that with Boruto's speech. But in Boruto 2 Blue Vortex, we have had so many moments that I can't even blame you if you're glazing Boruto. It's 100% deserved. And this is why you have to watch this video right here, as Boruto becoming this strong is no mistake, and it is because of the time skip training that Sasuke and potentially other masters have caused him to endure.